y'all, it's Kelly coming to you from Loch Briar Knits. I'm coming to you from very snowy Nova Scotia, Canada on the first day of spring. We got hit with a lovely snowstorm / freezing rain last night, so it looks nothing like spring at all, and probably won't for quite a little while. But I thought I would start podcasting on my knitting journey, which has been going on for quite some time, but got set aside because I was busy with my other jobs, which is just your regular office day job, and I am an author as well. So I've decided to slow down on both of those counts so that I have a little more time for knitting. And as part of that, I wanted to join the community of podcasters who I am madly in love with, and keep me kind of entertained and inspired, and maybe I can do that for somebody else as well along the way. So we're coming to you from my kitchen because my office is currently in a state of being redone, and not so much redone, just sort of shifted around, moving things from one pile to another, cleaning it up a little so I can use it for a craft room as well, because I do a lot of my writing in coffee shops, and I don't use my office as much for actual writing, mostly just research and housing my stuff. And my reason for joining is just basically to be part of a community of knitters. It's been great watching the other podcasts and really feeling inspired, and that I found sort of a community that is in love with knitting as I am. So it's been fantastic, and I thought it would be fun to take part. So for starters, I've got my show notes here, so if you see me kind of looking, it's because really I'll forget what I'm supposed to say. And, you know, so hopefully I can get this down after a few episodes, and I don't have to keep kind of like, what's over there? So anyway, for social media, just to let you know, on Instagram, you can find me at Kelly L. Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E, and I'll put all this kind of in the show notes and just in the about on the Instagram, or on the YouTube channel. So Instagram, Kelly L. Boyce. Ravelry is Loch Briar, Lochbriar, and Facebook is Loch Briar Knits. Let's see what else. Etsy shop is Loch Briar Knits, and the blog is lochbriarknits.com. I think that's everything. Anyways, I'll put all the social media stuff kind of down below so you can see it. Let's see. Posting, I'm going to try to do it bi-weekly, and I'm trying to do it when my husband is out for the evening so I can kind of have the house to myself. It's just he and I here most of the time. I have a stepson who's here part-time, and the dog. The dog's always here. He's fine. He doesn't interrupt me too much, and when he does, it's perfectly quiet, usually. You hear the barking. But, so yeah, so you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to jump right in. We're going to start with stash enhancements, because I went on a little bit of a buying spree over the last month, just trying to get some new, some yarn for some new projects that I want to do. My 2017 was, I said, was going to be my year of creativity. I wanted to slow down with my writing. Not so much my writing, I'm still going to be writing every day, but my publishing schedule. I was putting out 3 books a year, and the deadlines and everything, it just got to be too much. So I decided to slow down and change what I'm writing, but I also wanted to give myself time to do other creative pursuits. So knitting, of course, was the top of my list, and the thing that I want to do with my knitting this year is really kind of branch out and try things that I haven't tried before. So one of those things is to start hand dyeing my own yarn, which I did start a couple of days ago, and we'll get to that later. Not a couple of days ago, a couple weeks ago, and we'll get to that later. But I have been buying yarn, and I'm going to start off. I'm doing a knit along with wool needles hands. I always want to say wool hands needles. It's wool needles hands. That's Taylor, and that you can find her her YouTube channel and absolutely check it out. She is so much fun to watch. She's one of my favorites. But she's doing a spring hat knit along, and I decided to take part in that. And so where's my, hang on, I'm gonna read. So the deal is that it has to be have a lace pattern to it. So this, I think you can see that okay. I feel like I'm going backwards here against the mirror. So that's, I don't know if that's going to show up looking backwards or not. But this is the hat that I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to do it with one of my stash enhancements, which is Ella Ray. Get that up there. I don't know what the color is called. It doesn't really say. It just says Lace Merino Tonal. But it's a nice kind of smoky blue color. See if we can get that to focus. Maybe. Anyway, I think you can kind of see like the colors in it. Here we go. And so let's see if that, there, I think that kind of gives you a bit of a pretty good idea. But that's Ella Ray, and it's lace merino. So I think that's going to knit up really nice. I'm really excited to kind of give it a whirl. I don't usually do lace because reading charts, charts is a little like reading Greek to me, but this one's pretty simple, and I actually went and wrote it out, and it's just it's a repeat that actually makes sense to me. So I think I should be fine. Famous last words. Anyways, that's one of my stash enhancements. I also went on a little bit of a lichen lace. I love these guys. I don't know if that's going to show up. That's the guys, lichen lace. That's showing up reversed to me. I don't know if it is at your end or not. I guess I'll know when I do the playback. They're actually not too far from me. They're in Sackville, New Brunswick, I believe, and so next province over. So it's really nice to have found somebody who's in the Atlantic provinces that I can buy from. But I got this one, which is Sweet Pea, and it's like, I'm not usually a pink person. I usually avoid pink like the plague, but this is so gorgeous. Love it. Anyway, so that's the first one, not the last. This is the other one. I'm going to see if I can get that, if you can see the colors in that. They're absolutely gorgeous. I don't know how well my autofocus is working, but it's got, see if that, these look up kind of blues, and it's got some greens and reds. This one is called Pressed Flowers, and that's kind of exactly, you can kind of see all of this here. It's beautiful. And last but not least, another one. I know I told you I went to town. This one is called Huckleberry, and it's got, oops, gorgeous burgundies. I don't know how well that's showing up here, but you can kind of see like the burgundies here. And it's got like some grayish, dark gray, black, and then of course the blue. But it's just stunning. Now this and two others I got because I wanted to do the Find Your Fade shawl. So I was kind of going back and forth on it because I had heard some people say, oh, we're not, you know, they had some difficulty with it, or they said that they kind of ran out of steam because of all the garter stitch and whatnot. And it was huge. And I'm like, am I really going to wear that? Like, it's expensive to buy all that yarn, which didn't seem to stop me from buying all of this. But anyway, I kind of gave it some thought, and I thought, well, if I buy 3 skeins of yarn to kind of do the bigger middle parts, that take up the most amount of yarn, then I can maybe hand dye the other ones and do it that way. So the other part of my stash enhancements. This is going to be part of the Find Your Fade. So I'm going to do this one, and these other ones are by Sweet Paprika. So we've got, and it's like pizzicato, but it's Sweet Paprika Designs. And the colorways are Larkspur and Mountain Bluebird. Oops. The flipping around, I don't know. I get confused. So I think where we've got like the burgundy, and then I have my tea in front of me, so I'm really hoping I don't dump this in it. So that's with these 3. I think these will kind of really blend well. I think you can see there. So I think those will blend really well. And then I just have to kind of come up with the other colorways that I want to try to do with it. So that is not the end. Sorry, I'm just going to set those over there so they're not near the tea. The other thing that I bought was Zauberball. I always say that wrong. So this has got like all these kind of crazy orange and red and get that to focus. There we go. So you can kind of see it red, and then there's like some multicolor. There's some blue in there. Anyways, I found a really nice shawl pattern that I wanted to knit. And I think it would look really, I think those colors would actually look really good on my sister. So I may give that one to her. And I'm trying to see what the colorway on this is. Just a Zauberball Crazy. Color 2231. Oh, Bunt Metal. Bunt Metal. So that was all of the yarn. That's the stash enhancement from the yarn. And then I also got this cute little bag from the Loop, which, if I can get that up there. It's really cool how they did that. I don't know if I can get that to focus. Anyway, the Loop is my local supplier, my local yarn store, which is just down the street from my office, which is very, very dangerous. But it's really cute. Her mom makes the project bags. I have 2 of them. I don't have the other one here. I think the other one has cats on it. And then it's got, doesn't show up very well here, but this is actually like a nice greeny teal color. So it's really pretty. So that is my stash enhancement. And I'm going to take a sip because I'm getting dry. So that's, I have some stuff coming from Pirate and Woolly. So Pirate and WOLLE, I think is how it is. I ordered some of her sock yarn, and it's coming from Germany, so I expect it'll probably take a couple weeks at least. But yeah, so that's on its way, but I'll show you that next episode. So this next section, whip it good. So I have been working on Simple Lines wrap. So I'll show you the pattern here. I've actually been working on this for a little while, just sporadically. It's by Simone Alexandra. That's it right there. Actually, I think there's a better one inside. Picture inside. There we go. So that's the picture. See that? There we go. So I'm doing it in blue, kind of juniper moon, and it's 75% alpaca, 25% polyamide, and let's see what the colorway on this, Baha'i Beach. So this is, I'm gonna wrap it here. It's mostly just garter stitch and 2x2 ribbing for the most part. I'm gonna hold that up. That's what I've got so far. I'm really gonna move my tea because that's gonna end badly. Okay, so anyways, this is kind of what it's looked like. So I've still, as you can see from like the picture, yeah, I got a ways to go. I got a long ways to go. But I'm gonna finish it before next winter. That's my goal. That's I really, actually, I'd like to get it off the needles before then. And I promised myself I can't start my Find Your Fade shawl until I'm at the halfway mark. Maybe the 1/3 mark. Yeah, I may give myself a pass on that and go in the 1/3 mark. Also, I've got it on the yarn on this thing, so it winds. I love this. This is great for the yarn cakes. It was made by a local supplier. I don't know if it's, I think that's his mark. I think it's a gentleman that lives somewhere in Nova Scotia here. And the loop gets a lot of local suppliers for things like wooden buttons and I don't even know what you'd call this actually, but I love it. It was, my husband got it for me for Christmas. Christmas time I usually just send him down to the loop and with a list. And anyways, yeah, I got my Swift there. That's made out of birch. That's from a local supplier as well. And let's see what else. Sorry, I had to find my sock. So my other work in progress, I'm doing a stripy sock 2017 cow with pearl, I always say this wrong. Where did I write it down? Pin feathers and pearls. I keep saying pearl feathers and pins. Really? So I have not, I'm going to tell you right now, I have not knit socks in, I'd say probably 10 years. And I've never quite felt like I had the knack for it. Something always seemed to go wrong, or it would take forever and then it would just drive me crazy. I think it took me a year to knit the last pair of socks. I did a year, mostly because I was putting it off and, you know, just not doing it. But I'm determined to like knitting socks. And actually this pair I did like knitting a lot better, and I think it's the difference between the needles I was using. I got the Knitter's Pride Carbons, double pointed ones for these, and they were maybe size 1 US, 1.5. Is 1.5 US a size? I don't know. I don't know a lot of the terminology. Honestly, you're going to hear me fumbling over that stuff. I will likely just make stuff up. But anyways, this is it. First sock is completed. So that's my hoe. My lovely hoe. Now, I would love to say it just went along like a breeze. Did not. First off, I cast it on and I was following the wrong pattern. I thought I had grabbed the right pattern. Didn't. Started knitting, and I got probably to about here and realized that unless I was knitting it for a giant, I should stop now. And I don't know any giants. My brother-in-law comes close, but even he wouldn't have fit this thing. So, okay, I had frogged that. I had to start all over, found the right pattern this time, started all over. And then I got along. When I get to the heel, and I just did like your regular gusset heel thing, and they tell you to pick up stitches. They're saying pick up 18. Would you think I could find 18 stitches to pick up? No, I could find 15 and 16. So I kind of fudged it. I made a couple stitches. I pulled some out of somewhere. I don't know. And it turned out okay, but I don't know if you can see. On both sides, there's this one little spot right there where you start. And it's like the stitch is really big, kind of holy. And it's the exact same on that side. So I think I'm just not pulling the yarn tight enough when I'm starting to join up or something. And that's what causes that. So I might go in and darn that. I don't know. Anyway, so then once I got that, I'm going along. Everything is fine. I'm almost to the toe. I'm probably to about right here. Yes, I would have been to about right here. And I realized, if you can see this little gaff here, I realized that down here I had dropped a stitch. But I didn't realize I dropped a stitch because I had the correct number of stitches on the needle. I don't know how that happened. At that point, I wasn't really caring how it happened. I was just kind of ticked off that it had. So I had to go back and try to knit that stitch up. And you can see it didn't really go so well. It's kind of messy. These socks are just for me though, so I'm not that worried about it. Like, you know, I also think that I may have knit in, I'm pulling it out there now, some extra insulation with the golden retriever hair. Usually when I'm doing anything for my Etsy shop, I have to go into my office where the dog isn't allowed and knit from there because he's a golden retriever and he sheds. He sheds like crazy. So anything I'm doing for the Etsy shop, I have to do in quarantine. So anyways, that's, and then, oh yeah, right, then, adventures in knitting. The toe, let's see if I can get it down here. They tell you to go until you have 8 stitches on each side, and then you can either bind off and like sew it together, or you can graft it. Well, number 1, I got to the to the 8 stitches on either needle, and it just looked a little too pointy for me, but at that point I was kind of committed because I really wasn't going to back it out at this point. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try grafting it. Well, guess what I suck at? That's right, grafting. Yeah. So, but again, at that point I was committed. So I did it. It didn't turn out well at all. It's kind of, and at that point I was like, I don't care, they're for me. Who's going to be looking at my toes? So I don't know if you can, let's see if I can get that up to the, I don't know if we're going to get that very, let's give it a shot. No, that's not going to show. Oh, maybe, there we go. Yeah, it's not pretty. It's not going to win any contests. It's not going to win any beauty contest. But one sock done. Yay! So that is literally all I have. I'm for my works in progress. So I don't know if I'm whipping it good or if I'm just being a bit lazy. I had the sock cal was that one. The spring hat cal. I had planned on casting that on the weekend, and then the dyeing of the yarn got in the way for reasons that we'll talk about now, because we're ready to move on to... So here's the story about the dyeing. In general, I have always loved the idea of hand dyeing yarn. Drink break. I did the tea, not the wine. I'll do the wine next time. Lemon and honey. Anyway, dye for, right? So I've always wanted to learn how to hand dye. I thought it looked like this incredibly involved process. I didn't even know where to begin. But I really, really wanted to learn how to do it. But again, like I didn't, you know, I don't really have any knitter friends. I don't have any friends that I'm aware of that have been dyeing yarn on the side and keeping it from me. So I really didn't even know where to start. And then as I started watching the podcast, there were, you know, a lot of them hand dye their own yarn. Molly from A Homespun House, Taylor from Wool Needles Hands. God, who else? Fawn and the Fox, I think it's called, and Pin, Feather, and Pearls. Like, just, you know, and it was beautiful yarn. And the thing that kind of made me make the final leap was twofold. Was that this was supposed to be my year of creativity, where I kind of got outside my box and tried things that I had been really wanting to try and had been putting off, or just like, I don't even know where to start. Luckily, Taylor from Wool Needles Hands decided she was going to dive in as well. So I thought, well, I'm going to watch and see just what is involved in the process. Because the other ones you see, like the beautiful yarns they knit, but they hadn't really, they weren't showing so much the process as they were showing kind of the finished product and you know, new things in their shop and things like that. So Taylor was really the first one that I saw, and I mean, I'm sure that there's probably some others out there, but Taylor was the first one that I saw who was just kind of jumping in and going for it and learning, you know, now, like new at it. And so when I watched her, I thought, oh my gosh, I think I can really do this. So she had a bunch of really good advice and you know, where to go and what you need and, you know, kind of the process. And then she showed us, she kind of went through the process. She does some vlogs where I think it's her Making Progress is what she calls them, vlogs. With each new technique that she learns, which is really fantastic. So she's been a great inspiration she's just diving in there, and she's so good at it. And, the stuff that she's coming up with is amazing. She just did a recent one that was Neapolitan ice cream. It looked exactly like that. And it was amazing. So I thought, you know what? Screw it, enough of the whole, I don't know. So I was just like, do it. Just shut up and do it. So I shut up and I did it. And I've done 4 skeins so far, and it is addictive. So here's the story of the dyeing. So far, I've done, the first time I took 1 skein of yarn and then I pulled out like enough for a little mini skein just to try for starting out, to get the process down. So that went well. And I really like the colors in it. I did a mix of blue, green, and burgundies. Or purple, actually. Sorry. Blue, green, and purple. And let's see if we can get that up there for you. I don't know if the colors are showing up very well on this, actually, but no. Anyway, I'll figure that out eventually. swear. So that's it, and I called this one A Walk in the Woods because just all of the, it's the green's not showing up quite as much on here. That could be the reflection of the light, actually. There we go. That's a little better. You can kind of see there's like some little green sections in here. But it just kind of reminded me of the woods for some reason. So that's called Through a Dark Wood. And then I brightened it up a little with this bad boy, which is all kinds of pinks and magenta. There's a little, you can kind of see like little hints of yellow in there. You've got some blazing orange right in there. So this one was Bubblegum Sundae. And the only reason I called it Bubblegum Sundae was, number one, it looked like bubblegum to me for some reason, all the pink, I guess, maybe. And then it was Sunday when I did it, so Bubblegum Sundae. I think this one here, my sister loved it, so I'm going to knit her a pair of socks. They'll be kind of shorter socks probably, just maybe a little above the ankle because I used the other skein here. And I think what I'm going to do with this one is, because of the colors in it, I may use this for the beginning section of my Find Your Fade shawl. So anyways, that's going to be socks, and I think this will go with the first part of my Find Your Fade shawl, which means I only have to come up with 3 more colors. And the good thing about doing the dyeing for that is that I can kind of pick and choose the colors to work with what I want, but I also can take bare skeins and just kind of pull out enough yarn for what I need, which should help. So this, anyways, this was just last weekend's dye attempts, and I was really happy with how it turned out. So I figured that this weekend I'd go to town. So I had some ideas. I wanted to do a kind of like a lavender purpley sort of thing, and I was thinking lavender fields or whatever, but I wanted it to be almost kind of speckled, maybe a little more than speckled. But so this is what I came up with. I'm not sure. You know what? Hang on for a second. Here we go. So I think you can see. So you can kind of see there's some blues here, and then you've got purples, and there's some green in here too. Little specks of green. Let me see if I can kind of, sort of like a apple green. You see that? Maybe. I'm going to work in the autofocus a little bit. Little specks there. There's also little specks of blue and, did I put red or magenta or something? So anyway, it's like got all these like little great purpley specks, and it just kind of reminded me of lavender. So we called that one Lavender Fields. And so, well, actually I'll show the last one, and then I'll tell you about the adventures in Dyeland. This is the other one. So this is, I'm calling this one Summer Berries. It's got greens and reds and blues and purple. I'm trying to think, what else did I put? I think another color in there. I might have had 2 purple. I think that's about it. So probably about 5 colors mixed in here. I can't wait to see how this one knits up. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Actually, you know what? That's got some blues and greens in it. So I don't know. Maybe that one will work with my Find Your Fade shawl. Anyway, so those were this weekend's. Now, this is why I didn't cast on the cow. for the spring hat was I had intended on starting that and thinking, well, I'll just skein up because I did this on Saturday. And I thought, well, I'll just reskein it real quick. And real quick was at least 4 hours later, probably pushing 5. And here's why. Because, and I obviously did it on both of the skeins. When I took them out of the dye bath, or when I was rinsing them, I'm not sure at which stage, I believe that I had pulled strands over that should have been on one side and pulled it over to the other side. And then didn't realize I did it. I either did it then or when I put it on the back of the chair just to kind of hang there, maybe I did it then. Whatever happened, at some point it became a tangled mess. And when I tried to fix this one, which was the one I did first, and that's when it happened, this one knocked off the chair. And when I say it became a tangled mess, I mean, it was just like, it was a mass of yarn. It took 2.5 hours of, and I already had probably about 2/3 of it reskeined on the Swift. And it took me about over 2 hours to untangle the last third of it and get that reskeined. And then I'll tell you why it's a cake after I tell you this story. I did the exact same thing to this one, but thankfully this one didn't fall off of the chair, and it only took maybe 2 hours, and it was a little less onerous because I had half of the skein left, but instead of being like a tangled mass like this, it was just, I just had to weave it in and out of where it was tangled on the chair. So by the end of that, I was fit to be tied. And then I discovered that, actually you can see that one's not too bad because it's a bit of a smaller skein. I tried to just like wind this so that it looked like this or some variation of this. And do you think I could do it? No, I could not. I could not do it. It was horrible. I must have tried it 8 different times. And I don't know what I was doing wrong. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Anyway, I could not. And at that point, I was ready to throw it across the room because it had already taken up my entire afternoon. So I said, screw it, and I'm just winding it right into a cake. And that's what I did. So, you know. Then this one, it's in a, like it's wound. It's just not super tight. So, I don't know. Maybe I gotta practice. Maybe it's just practice. I don't know. Anyway, adventures in knitting. So that's the story of the dye. In the queue, well, we already talked about the Find Your Fade shawl, and that's Andrea, or Andrea, I'm not sure how she pronounces it, Maori. That's her pattern. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard other knitters talking about it. I was living under a rock. I only heard about it a month ago. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm planning on queuing that one up. I've got the spring hat cow as well that I'm doing. But here's the other thing. I started knitting, I learned to knit when I was 9. And my mother and my grandmother both are huge knitters. So my mom taught me, and I think I was doing it for a brownie badge because I was determined to have more badges than everybody else, whether I wanted to do the stuff or not, or had any interest in it. So knitting was one of the badges. So my plan, I had this like yellow yarn. I was going to knit a garter stitch scarf. So a month later, it was a misshapen pot holder. It was the most horrible experience of my life thus far. I was 9. There were more horrible experiences to come, but at that point, that was right up there. Anyway, I didn't pick up the needles again until, I would say, my late 20s, maybe 30. I decided to knit some dishcloths for Christmas. I thought that's easy. Like, surely I can't screw that up. Hang on, pull my chair and I need a footstool. And I loved it. I was hooked immediately. I was like, why did I never, why didn't I like knitting before? Like, this is awesome. I love it. And I couldn't get enough of it. So I was like knitting dishcloths left, right, and center. And then I decided to knit Afghans for people for Christmas as well. Because in my head, I'm thinking really an Afghan is just a really big dishcloth. So I was doing cables and I was just, so anyway, I can't remember where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so I've knit, hats. I have some knitting hat stories that are epic, but I'll save that for another time. Because my knit hats haven't always quite turned out how I envisioned them. And anyway, but I have knit some that turned out perfect, and cowls, and I've done a caplet. I've done a couple caplets, scarves, cowls, kind of like mittens, fingerless mittens. I designed a pattern of my own, and what else did I like? Coffee cozy, coffee mug cozies, things like that. But I've never really branched out and tried anything that was a really difficult pattern by way of structure. I have never knit a sweater. And that always seems to be one of the first things people do when they learn how to knit. And I was just like, it freaked me out. I did try once. When my first nephew was born, I have 6 nieces and nephews now. But when my first nephew was born, he just turned 15. I decided it was a Debbie Bliss pattern. It was simple, but when I got the body done, but when I got to the arms or neck, I forget which part I got to, but it freaked me out. I was like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. So I just kind of set it aside. And it was to fit a 2-year-old, so I just figured that's fine. He's a preemie. I've got some time. So then, next thing I know, he's 2. And then not long after that, his sister was coming. So I thought, well, it's blue, but whatever. I don't care about gender colors. She's a baby. She won't care. So I'll finish it for her. Well, that didn't happen. And then my other nephew was born, and his sister was born, and then the next nephew was born, and then the last nephew was born, and nobody got the sweater. Because just the idea of shaping and neck, and I had to sew things together, it just, yeah. So this year, I am doing a sweater. So this is, it's a knit from the top down. It's not, near as I can tell, too horribly difficult. And I took it into the loop, and Mimi there helped me pick out the yarn. We got this really nice silk wool yarn, which I meant to bring down, totally forgot, so I'll show that next time. I'm going to be attempting that. I've got a few people who know how to knit sweaters who are on my emergency standby list in case I freak out, because I would like to actually finish this one. So that's that one's in the queue. The cowl for the cowl for the hat is in the queue, and the find your fade shawl is in the queue. So that's what's going to be coming up. And in the meantime, I've got to finish a sock number 2, and I have to do it by the end of the month because the cowl is ending then. The cowl for the hat I have until May, end of May, I think it is. I'll have to look that up. But if you're looking to join that, just go to Taylor's Ravelry group, which is Wool Needles Hands, and you can check it out and sign up there. So I think that's it. So actually what I'd like to do for the end part is just kind of have a total randomness section. I was going to kind of thought that this would be a good time since it's the first one, and I don't actually have anything that's sticking in my head totally random, which is unusual. But what I thought it would do is just kind of tell you a little bit about myself as far as my reason for doing this, but I kind of already touched on that. So basically, here's the deal. Like I said, I'm a writer, and that's always been my dream. It's what I wanted to be from the time I was probably, I think in grade 2, I started. Originally, I wanted to be a farmer, and then in grade 2, I realized all the stories in my head, I could put them down on paper. So I thought, well, that's great. I'll be a writing farmer. Then I kind of realized that I didn't have a farm. I had uncles who had farms, but they were using them at the time, so that didn't quite work out for me. So plus I lived in town. You know, it's hard to build a farm in town. So I thought, okay, well, writing it is. And so after some stops and starts and whatever, you know, about 2011, 10 or 11, I published my first book, and then 3 years after that, I think, I published my next book, and then started publishing about every 5 to 6 months, and that went on for about 4 to 5 years, maybe 4 years, maybe. And it was just kind of a constant deadline to the point where it stopped feeling like fun and really started feeling like a job, and I was becoming completely burned out. By the end of last year, actually before the end of last year, I was burned out. I was just like brain dead, and I thought I've got to slow down. So that's what I did, and I decided, you know, your creativity. Whoa! So I still have 1 book left because I was doing a 9-book series. I've got the last book that I have to get out to my readers, and I'm almost done. The book's written. I just have to do my revisions and all that good stuff. So then I'm going to slow down, write something completely different, and just take my time with it without having a deadline hanging over my head. So I sort of took that for a bit of a test run between the time I handed the book into my editor and when she gives me back her notes for revisions, which should be coming on Thursday. Excuse me. So anyway, in that time, I was kind of doing a lot of knitting. I started the hand dyeing. My husband says he hasn't seen me this relaxed in years. So I think I may be onto something with kind of slowing the pace down a little. I'm not stressed out anymore. I'm not, you know, feeling like it's always a constant go, 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 go. So I think that's pretty much kind of what led me here, was just once I took a bit of a break, the creativity in the other areas just started exploding. Like, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and let's try this. So Anyways, I'm really, really happy for any of you guys out there that are watching this. I hope you enjoy it. I will try not to ramble, or at least edit down the parts where I do, so it doesn't get too kind of, God, just make her shut up. Move it along. But yeah, so that's pretty much my story. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them below. I hope that you'll subscribe and come back and watch the future episodes, so I'm not just talking into the ether. Anyways, but I hope you'll come back for episode 2. Hopefully I'll have one up every 2 weeks, thereabouts, give or take a few days. And we'll see what else evolves in the adventures of Kelly's knitting and hand dyeing extravaganza. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again, I hope.